Hey, welcome to Untamed TV. I am your host, Craig Bielik. You've seen me many times. You've probably never seen this guy. This is Rich Bischoff, a musician from, I was going to say from Brigham, but are you actually from Brigham? Or?
Yeah, pretty much. But
Pretty
I live
much.
in Perry now. But,
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Pretty much. That's great. We've asked Rich to be on the show today because we're going to be promoting the Brigham City Community Hospital Heartbeat Concert, which is happening on February 23rd. It is $5 to get into, which is a deal, if you ask me. And it also, all the proceeds go to the American Heart Association. I'll give you a website that you can find more about that later. But Rich, I've heard you perform before. I've heard you with your daughter. I've gone to your website. I've listened to your music. It's wonderful to have you here. How did you get started on guitar? And I should mention too that you play a lot of things.
I lived in California until I was 10, and then I moved to Brigham. So I should say, people get made fun of if they say, "Oh, I was born in California, so I'm really a Californian." But I didn't.
Oh.
I mostly grew up here. I'm not really from. I did all my teenagers, but there was a neighbor next door that used to play guitar, and I just thought it was the coolest thing ever. And I was probably only like 9 when I saw him play, and then I didn't really think that much about it. But I used to sit and play tennis rackets and pretend all the time as a kid, right? And
who didn't?
Right, it's just the thing to do.
If you didn't, you should see somebody because you definitely should have done that. That should be part of your growing up experience.
Exactly. So my mom made me have this get a job as a paper boy when I was 12 when we moved to Utah, and I was just delivering papers one day and I heard the Scorpions. Remember that band?
Oh boy, do I know the Scorpions.
I heard the Scorpions playing,
yeah.
And I looked up in this guy the window, and there was actually a guy playing on the guitar. I'm like, so all of a sudden this interest in electric guitar again. I'm like, oh, I'm gonna go check that out. So he wouldn't answer the door because he had the guitar up so loud.
Right. Well, plus he was playing the Scorpions.
Yes, he was
you
playing
don't
the Scorpions.
interrupt the Scorpions, right?
I did though. So I knocked on the door. He wouldn't come to the door. I finally just let myself in, and I think I scared the heck out of him because he looked over and there's this kid staring at him. He's like, oh, and I was like, I just want to listen to you play. And he's like, oh, cool, come on in. So he was really nice and kind of took me under his wing kind of at first and was like, yeah, check all this out. And he showed me all his equipment. And so that's kind of where the bug really took off.
Right.
And I have not, I think the longest I've gone without playing the guitar since then, since I got my guitar, was probably maybe a week.
Really?
Yeah. So.
And you own both. You own electric and acoustic.
Oh, yeah.
Of course. Of course. On that. And so where are your influences? Obviously Scorpions, right? I mean, that made an impression, but...
Well, the hair bands, man.
Oh, yeah.
So that's when I grew up playing guitar, was with like Dawkins, Scorpions.
Oh, it's the W's. It's the Warrant Winger Whitesnake. You
All
remember that?
All
Yeah.
that stuff. So that was huge influence on me. But as you progress on the guitar, you start realizing, oh, there's Stevie Ray Vaughan, there's Clapton, there's all these guys that were like, that started it all, Jimi Hendrix.
Yeah.
You start to realize where all your influences that you were influenced at the time, they were influenced by them. And so then you start getting into that music, and then I don't know, there's just an amalgamation of artists that I've kind of just drawn from. And
Really?
at one point I was having to learn, how to play country because that was what was the big thing at the time, and I was playing in cover bands and I had to play stuff like, all that chicken type. That kind of thing. So
Yeah. That sounded like Heart to me. That sounded it sounded like the introduction to that old Crazy on You or whatever. Remember that? Yeah. Man,
that's Barracuda.
You've got it all. Yeah. You've got it all down there. Is there one or maybe 2 or 3 guitarists that you're particularly fond of?
Man, it's hard to narrow down. There's so many of them. I would have to say like a huge influence on me was probably Eric Johnson. I don't know if you've ever heard of him.
Oh, you know what? I am a huge music fan, and I cannot come up with Eric Johnson.
Cliffs of Dover. He's more of an instrumental. He sang too. So Eric Johnson was a huge influence. Of course, Stevie Ray Vaughan, Van Halen. I mean, all that stuff was huge.
Right.
But then, as I kind of progressed in guitar and music and stuff, I got more into singer-songwriters. So even people like, like James Taylor and those kind of people influenced me. So.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So where are you at now? I mean, how do you describe your music if somebody says what? And I'm not talking about the cover music that you do, and you do a great job on that. But when people say, "What is Rich Bischoff? What kind of a musician are you? Are you?"
And you know what? I'm kind of schizophrenic that way.
Well, and
As I
nobody
play-
likes to be pigeonholed. Nobody
Yeah.
likes to say, "Hey, this guy plays reggae" or something
So-
like that. They just like, you know.
Yeah, so I have my own home studio, like a lot of musicians do these days, and I'm always like in the back of my mind, oh, I should do a blues album. Oh, I should do a rock album. Oh, I should do a pop album. So it's like one of those things where I love so many different styles of music that it's hard for me to say. I think mostly the blues is like kind of where my heart is. Kind of.
There you go. And that sounds like Stevie
thing.
Ray Vaughan's.
Yeah.
What's that song? Oh my gosh,
Pride and Joy.
Pride and Joy. That sounds like Pride and Joy. And I'm a drummer.
You got it.
There you go.
Yeah.
I'm a poor drummer, but
I had to find the beat. But that's okay.
I know. I'm so sorry. That's
all
what you
right.
folks tuned into today, to see some guy whacking his fingers on the table. Well, like I say quite often, it's probably best to let the music do the talking. And you brought a number for us today.
Sure.
Or 2 numbers or 10 numbers?
No,
or-
just
Yeah,
one.
Just one? One? What's it called?
So this is an original song that I wrote a few years ago. And it started off with this little riff that was like... And I just played it for fun one night at a club we were playing at because we didn't have any slow songs. And I just made up the words like... Baby, I love you so much. Something like that. And people came out and they slow danced because most of them were probably drunk. And they didn't know what song it was, right?
He speaks the truth.
But
Yep.
so this has never happened to me before. But I was the next like weekend or the next week I had a dream and I actually heard the music in my dream. And I don't hear music. I don't even hear sound in my dreams. I don't really even remember my dreams. But I heard that song and I'm like, man. And I'd forgotten I'd done it. But I remembered the riff, so I immediately went in the studio because I've always had, I think since about 97, I've had my own home studio. And now it's like overgrowing the house, the whole upstairs. Tyra's letting me, my wife's letting me take over.
It's taken over.
So this song came out of that, and the words just kind of were talking about maybe me. Even though like times can be hard sometimes, it's like just live in the moment. So that's kind of what this song's about. It's called Make This Moment Last. And it ended up sounding like nothing like the original, but it has the same kind of chords. Woke up today, looked through my closet for some blue skies to cover the gray. Because the rain was pouring down, enough to make a grown man frown. So I will turn on the light inside of my head. And you were there, and I had no fear. So I asked you to stay. Make this moment last. Please make this moment last. Please make this moment last. Don't go away. So I took those blue skies from my pocket and I threw them up in the sky to cover the gray. Because I could not believe it, but I had to conceive it, that I could take these blue skies and cover the grave. Then you were there, and I had no fear, so I asked you to stay. Make this moment last. Please make this moment last. Please make this moment last. Don't go away. Don't go away. Why did you run away? When did you go? Please make this moment last. Don't go away. Don't go away. No, no. Don't go away. No, no. Don't go away. Go away.
Wow. I was kind of embarrassed because I was tapping my toe through this whole thing.
That's
Are
good.
you guys out there tapping
That's
your
a good-
toes? You should
good
be
thing.
because that was just great, Rich.
Thank you.
That was great. How many songs do you know?
Oh, I don't know. The thing about me is I've kind of turned into this hired gun for bands where
Yeah.
I have one main band that I really love playing in. We're all really good friends, but I get bands calling me to fill in, so I'm always
No
learning.
doubt.
Yeah, I'm always learning
Yeah.
like a different set list
every
every month or
week,
something
yeah.
like that. So
Yeah. Well, you said you wanted to make a blues album.
Oh yeah,
Rock
so,
album.
and yeah,
Country album.
and in this
Whistling album. You ever wanted to do one? I mean,
the recorder maybe.
I think there's a dearth of whistling albums lately. I just don't hear enough of them. I'm just kidding. Do you want to hear more? Well, of course you folks do. And one way that you can do it is your website.
Yep, richbischoff.com. Last name spelled B-I. Oh,
Right.
it's on the screen. BISCHOFF.
Correct.
.com. And there's lots of stuff on that website. I teach guitar. I offer that. I offer recording at my studio. I'm a hired musician. So I try to, in this climate, you almost have to hire yourself
all.
out for everything
You gotta do it
to
all.
make any money. So
You got to
yeah.
do it all.
Yep.
Got to do it all. Rich is playing for Brigham City Community Hospital's Heartbeat concert on February 23rd. Starts at 7, I think, 7, something like that. But you can find more information on Brigham City Community
6.
Hospital's website. 6. Okay, there
Starts
you
at
go.
6.
Starts at 6.
On Friday.
Yeah. Oh, it's a Friday. That's
Yeah.
right. Oh, I am a font of information.
I should interview you.
You really should. The only thing is, obviously, I don't know what I'm talking about. Friday, February 23rd, Heartbeat concert starts at 6. It's $5. That all that money goes to the American Heart Association, so that's a good thing. Rich is going to be there. He's going to play a great set. I think you're going to want to see that, and you can talk to him there also about guitar lessons. Talk him into doing a whistling album. I'm serious. We need a whistling album soon.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, this is Untamed Television, in case you haven't guessed it by now. This is your host, Craig Bielik, my guest, Rich Bischoff, and check this guy out. You want to go out with a number? We'll just kind
Sure.
of fade out. How's
Yeah,
that?
sure. I can
Kind of
do,
fade away. Ooh, we're starting to fade.
Took my words and let me silent.